and the attack at Finsbury Park, I can't say the word, Finsbury Park today. Only one of them not being terrorist related, that obviously being the fire, or at least we don't expect to be terrorist related at this current precise moment in time. And all include the same thing: innocent people losing their lives. I want to first start off by saying terrorism in all its forms is frankly disgusting and deplorable and cannot be justified in any way. It is wrong, it is despicable, it is evil, and it is disgusting no matter the motive. And what happened today or last night was horrific. I'll bring you up to speed with what happened if you don't know. But just outside a Muslim mosque last night, a white van driven by a white man. So it ran over some Muslims who were coming out of the Ramadan event in their mosque, or in the welfare centre, I believe, their Muslim welfare centre. Ran them over. At the moment, we know. And at the moment, yeah, it's 10 people are injured, or so we know of at the moment, and one person is dead. Not the attacker, important to note. He is in custody, he was arrested, he didn't die. So yeah, really, really, really awful. As I say, innocent lives, or innocent life at the moment lost. Let's hope it stays down to one. Not that makes it, it makes it no better, but at least it's not worse than what it could have been, type thing. 10 injuries, some of them no doubt serious. And yeah, just really, really shocking. And it really is just disgusting that this is what's happening in this country, and we are almost going into it's like a war zone, which I said was going to happen many, many years ago. So we've got to look at the motive, because I think the motive is important after an attack, because you've got to find out the motive to try and be able to tackle it. Now, with the attacks in Westminster, London Bridge, Manchester, attacks in previous years, like the Lee Rigby attack, the motive was Islamic fundamentalism. The motive was radical Islamic, Islam, radical Islam. Sorry, and people who basically take what the words the Quran says. Sorry, word for word. Now, the motive for this attack, it would seem, is that this guy wanted to retaliate for what happened before. It is wrong, and he is wrong. And retaliating against peaceful Muslims saying prayers during the event of Ramadan is completely wrong, completely deplorable, and evil. And that is an important thing to distinguish. It is that, and I'm not in any way making excuses. I'm simply stating the motive, which is important in all these attacks, because until we state the motive, we can't tackle the problem. And I always say this: until you can't tackle a problem if you don't call a problem what it is. This guy clearly, for whatever, he clearly felt that nothing was changing after terrorist attacks, and that he had to attack. This guy clearly has generalized the whole of the Muslim community as all bad, and has acted upon that wrong assumption and mowed down and killed, as we say, at least one, maybe more, injuring many. It is a terrible motive, as awful as the motives that we've seen in previous attacks. Terrorism is disgusting. This guy and what he did was wrong. He saw it as retaliation. You don't retaliate. That is so goddamn wrong. But that's what he saw, and that's what we do have to talk about. That is important. We have to talk about that because we have to understand the motive to try and stop stuff like this happening again. And I'm afraid this was always inevitable. I could see it happening. I hoped it would never happen, but I could see it happening. After attack after attack after attack, and nothing changing. I could see that one person would completely, rather than doing what they should do after an attack, and that is demand change, demand we have a conversation, and demand that we make changes to laws to try and stop terrorist attacks. Rather than that, he would sink as low as the terrorists and carry out his own terrorist attack on a group of people that are innocent, and just, it was always going to happen. And I'm not making excuses, because it's wrong, and it's as wrong as the terrorist attacks we've seen. Terrorism, as I say, is equally deplorable no matter what its form is. But this was always going to happen. And I think this just goes to show how we really aren't tackling terrorism well at all, in all its forms. And people will say, how do you stop this type of attack? Well, first, what we've got to do is we want to stop all terrorism. We want to try and prevent all terrorism. We have to stop radical Islamic terrorism running rampant in the UK, running rampant in Europe. I've said the solutions that I have for that, and we have to implement them into society. We have to deport the radicalized jihadis that we know. There's lots of stuff we can do. I spoke about it before. That has to happen. And we have to look at the people, and it is a very, again, like I say about, radical Islamic terrorism, it is a small minority of it. But there are clearly a small minority of people, and it's important to distinguish, this is not the people that come out after an attack and criticize it and call it what it is, which is radicalism. These are not the people to worry about. The people to worry about are the people that say, right, we should have a revenge attack. We should kill all Muslims. That it's all Muslims. Again, not many. I don't see them at all, but they're clearly there. And we have to tackle that. We have to find those people. We have to bring those to justice. Now, that is how we try and stop this. Look, if we tackle one terrorism, it should stop the other. If we tackle radical Islamic terrorism like this won't happen. Again, I'm not making excuses for it. I'm just simply stating the facts. No doubt, if there was not a Manchester attack, not a Westminster attack, and not a London Bridge attack recently, this wouldn't have happened. Okay? So we have to try and stop that terrorism to stop other terrorism. Because otherwise, what could happen now, realistically, is somebody could retaliate to this within the Muslim community and do something similar and say, this is revenge for this. Then somebody could revenge for that. And it could just go on, and we could be in a war zone. And this is what I always said was happen. We have to tackle that terrorism. Look, I would say exactly the same as if this was the other way around, and we had seen, non-Muslims attacking Muslims consistently all around the world for years and years and years and years, and now all of a sudden, and this isn't the first time this sort of attack has happened, but now somebody has reacted and said this. I'd be saying exactly the same thing. We have to tackle non-Muslims creating this terrorism so that then Muslims aren't attacked. Look, I would be saying the same thing, so please don't twist my words. It is as important. This is, of course, a difficult topic. It's, of course, very, very difficult to talk about this because this is a very sensitive time. What happened is absolutely disgusting, absolutely deplorable. We do have to have these conversations, and we have to tackle both forms of terrorism. And if you tackle both forms of terrorism, they kind of will hopefully, or certainly this form of terrorism that we've seen today will not exist if the other form of terrorism doesn't exist, of course. The left have been so hypocritical with this attack. They told us after Westminster, after London, after Manchester, don't look back in anger. Keep calm and carry on. No hate will divide us. But now they're going on Twitter and they're spewing hate and they're saying and being completely hypocritical, saying it's all white people, this is a Christian attack, blah, 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 blah. Being completely and utterly hypocritical. You can't look back in anger. You can't be angry, okay, and not want to keep calm and carry on after this attack, but be okay with keep calm and carry on and not looking back in anger on the past, many attacks we've had in the past that have had a different motive. It is completely hypocritical. You should be looking back in anger on each and every single one of them, which I am. I am as angry, as shocked, and as disgusted with this attack as any of the attacks. The left's hypocrisy within this attack is frankly disgusting. It really, really is. You notice how I've not come on here and had to say, I feel bad about how I might be, put into a bracket here and clocked together into how all white people are bad and I might have some white hate crime against me. I don't care about that. I'm not playing the victim card. I'm not a victim in this attack. Victims are those that have been attacked and injured. And I want people to know that, okay? If there's another terrorist attack of any form, do not play the victim card. You are not the victim. The victim is those who are injured and dead. You are not the friggin' victim in this attack. And I'm not the victim. I shouldn't want to come on here and play the victim. It is wrong. I see a lot on Twitter of people using the left's logic after this attack, and it is very clever because it is highlighting how stupid they are. How many times after an attack do the left not really condemn the attack and are more concerned about Islamophobia? I don't see people on Twitter who are moaning about, I don't know, whiteophobia or Christianophobia on Twitter. I don't see it. The only time I see it is pure sarcasm to show how stupid and retarded the left is. The left is showing how hypocritical they are and how they don't care about innocent lives being lost. They are more caring about privilege points. They are more caring about their narrative, and they are more caring about basically whatever suits their narrative. This attack is despicable. It was an attack on Muslims, peaceful Muslims, and it is wrong. Anybody who defends the actions are wrong, and anybody who sympathises with the actions are wrong. What we have seen in recent months in London have been disgusting, have made everybody bar the left, mainly because they don't have a heart, absolutely disgusted and sickened. The way to react is not attacking peaceful Muslims who can be our greatest allies in tackling radical Islam. That is not how we react. Hell, we look back in anger, we demand change, we demand stopping radical Islamic terrorism from spreading across our country and Europe. That is what we do. We do not take our anger and make it into some violence onto an attack on peaceful Muslims. It is wrong, and it makes this man, the terrorist who carried out the attack yesterday, as bad as those that carried out Manchester, Westminster, London, Lee Rigby, Paris attacks, Brussels attacks. I could go on. Terrorism in all its forms is deplorable. The cunt who carried out the attack last night is a disgusting, evil man who will rot in hell for eternity. When his time comes to die, he will not have a pretty one. And he should know. He will be in exactly the same place as those who carried out the terrorist attacks that I no doubt think he hates and thought he was somehow retaliating from. So I hope he's happy that he will spend eternity with them bastards. All terrorism in all its forms is disgusting. My thoughts with the families and those affected by the terrorist attack we saw last night in London. We have once again in Britain seen an innocent loss of life. This must stop. We have to tackle the problems. We have to tackle terrorism. We can't just keep calm and carry on.